Wait, are you JizzyJ?
Hi, I'm JizzyJ,
I'm JizzyJ in the Gweeb in the
and
mornings
this
and
is
evenings.
JizzyJ and the Gweeb in the morning and evenings at 11:57 on the dot.
No sooner, no
It's
later.
the morning for you, and it's the evening for some of other of you, us, our viewers.
It's,
And today we're here with a very special guest.
Hello.
our special guest today is an international professor with an expertise, uh, with emphasis in intergalactic asthma attacks.
Yes. That is my expertise.
So why don't you go ahead and give us your name, Doctor Professor?
Well, my name is Dr. Professor, Dr. Rotcod,
All right, thank you
and that's
for
Rotcod the palindrome, not Rotcod the fish.
I can see how some people might make that mistake.
It's an easy mistake to make. When I was growing up, people used to make fun of me a lot for it, but we're past that now.
Yeah, and now you're on to something much more important. Probably one of the most important
Intergalactic
aspects.
asthma attacks, a very important topic indeed.
And yeah, and all our podcast is all about, showing the truth to some people that don't really receive it in their daily lives. And this is something I feel a lot of people just go on without having any knowledge of asthma attacks. In
Specifically
the
intergalactic ones, yes.
Exactly, and we're just glad to see you here. I know it's been eons since we last spoke, and from the sound of it, you sound like you've retained your form, and you're doing good. So I'm glad to see you here.
I have retained my form. My form has not been shedded. It is still the same form.
Yeah, I know with the relativity and everything, it gets a little tricky, but
it does get a bit tricky. But
as a professor,
my form has managed.
Hmm.
I'm a lucky person to have maintained the same form.
Yeah, it's very, very hard to maintain your forms from eons and eons.
Literal eons and eons. Yes.
No.
Many eons and eons. How have your guys' forms persisted through these eons and eons?
My form, it changed, and then I realigned it. It takes some time. I know
your form is sublime.
It's sublime now, but before, before time, it was just a mess. It's like a trash dumpster. And
my form,
the Gweeb.
Yeah, my form was formigated about 16 years ago. It's not really something I like to talk about. It's kind of a personal and touchy subject for me.
I can definitely respect that.
Try to get it out of him, but it's
I'd
something,
vote for that.
It's something you can't really bring up.
The more you push, the more I pull. But anyways,
Heraclitus, huh?
Oh yeah, hair is very Titus. But
yeah,
in particular,
I agree.
But we do appreciate you joining us today, because this is a subject that a lot of people may not even be aware of, but it affects them on a daily basis.
Absolutely, yes.
So if you want to,
the first point I just wanted to bring up. Now I know to all our viewers out there who haven't been to space and just like don't really know, could you explain the inhaler?
Yes.
I'm sorry, but like before we explain the inhaler, do you want to kind of give us the gist of what an asthma attack is, specifically an intergalactic one?
Right. Yes. Well, the best way to describe a intergalactic asthma attack is first by describing just excuse me, a regular asthma attack. Excuse me. And now regular asthma attacks are something a lot of people have experience with. They're a big deal in society today. You do have to treat asthma attacks with medication. When you have them, they're not very usually fun. They're usually something that's negative.
Yeah, I've seen that like on lots of different faces throughout my travel.
Right. Yes.
But
exactly.
I've never experienced,
So the taking of medications to kind of fix these attacks, I think that pretty much is a great segue into JizzyJ's last question that he just asked.
Oh, of course. What was the? Would you repeat the question, please?
So yeah, as many of the asthma attacks here, we have prescribed inhalers for use to fix them. Now, not many people know about the origins of the inhaler, how it actually came to be, because of the many people that have not been to space and have not traveled through the galaxy. So I just want to have your input on the knowledge, as it's been lost through, all
the eons and the eons,
the space to get to Earth, and it never got here.
Gotcha.
Until you arrived.
Well, I can tell you, you're asking about the origins of the intergalactic asthma inhaler, correct?
Exactly.
Well, see, the origins, it's a very complicated story. It's a very interesting story. It's a big story. It's a long story. But basically, it comes down to, basically the origins of the intergalactic asthma inhaler, they resulted in the intergalactic asthma inhaler coming into existence and coming to be and ending up coming to be the tool to really fix these intergalactic asthma attacks and to treat this illness.
A tool like a shovel or a spade?
Similar to a shovel or a spade, yes, but you use it to treat the intergalactic asthma attacks.
So is this kind of like a preventative measure, or is this like a after an attack measure?
That's a very good question. That is a very good question. That question really gets to the deepest point, and the really the whole story. Really, thank you for asking that question.
And don't hold back here, because this podcast, we like to push the truth, and for our viewers, they realize this is real.
It's good that you guys support truth and support honesty, and that you want to get everybody to know the real story out there. And I just really appreciate that about your guys' podcast. I'm a very big fan. I've been watching for eons and eons, and I appreciate you having me on. It's a blast. It's a real blast.
It's really our pleasure.
You're one of the most valuable to be on.
Do you guys have any beverages in front of you tonight?
I have a bucket of water.
A whole bucket?
Yeah.
About what size bucket?
Like, have you ever seen a bucket?
Yeah, like, are you talking about the big ones, or like the smaller buckets?
No, probably like a bucket-sized bucket. Like
Okay,
like a normal bucket.
How
like
full is the bucket?
It's almost like a quarter of the way full. I drank a lot of bucket water already.
Okay. Was it full to the brim when you first started drinking it?
Yeah, at 11:57 it was completely full.
Wow.
How many buckets do you drink a day?
Probably like at least 1,300.
Well, as a doctor, I could tell you that's very healthy lifestyle. You should keep that up.
Yeah,
I feel like if you could up that, you should up that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, sometimes I feel like I'm not drinking enough buckets to counteract the thirst. So
hey, you're doing better than me, man. I'm not drinking any buckets. I just have little jars of honey sip throughout the
jars of honey.
You know what they say, honey is thicker than blood.
Exactly. So
I do
that
say
it
that.
warms me up and it warms my soul, and it keeps me going to do the work that needs to be done.
Right.
Wow.
But
That's very inspirational. You know, I've thought about drinking honey every day myself, but I just haven't been able to pursue that lifestyle. How is that working out for you?
It's just a small jar, about the size of your thumb. You can get them they sell them at Ace Hardware. That's where I've been getting bulk
wait,
supply.
Bobby's Ace Hardware?
Uh-huh. It's not local. It's actually I have to drive south of the border, and that's where they sell them in bulk because I feel like that's where I get the best deal, like bang.
Wait, so how many thumb-sized jars of honey do you buy at a time?
I'd say like the case comes like 4 to 2, so about 8 jars of honey, and I'll go back make trips every week because I'll have one every day.
How much does that run you in the price region? What does that
Uh,
cost?
I mean, I bike there, and it takes a couple days. Now on that, ration my food if I can, have some place to stay. Sometimes I have.
Wait, so pretty much your week is biking down south of the border, picking up your honey, biking back up, and pretty much as soon as you get back up, it's time to bike back down, right?
Well, it takes about 4 days, so I have 3 days to rest, refuel on the honey. That gives me enough energy to, because like the way up is all up, and the way down is all down.
Oh, right. I
But then
forgot
vice versa.
you live in international waters, so your week is about 12 days, right?
Yeah, the sea level rise.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
but uh, to kind of bring it back to the asthma attacks, you know,
Oh, of course.
yeah,
What a very important topic that we definitely need to discuss in massive detail.
yeah, it's before this episode, I was doing a little bit of research, and I seen that there's been a lot of debate recently, especially with the presidential election finishing up. There was a lot of one of the talking points was whether we need to continue our safeguarding of preventative measures for intergalactic asthma attacks. So my question to you, since you're an expert in this topic, do you think that we need to up the military presence in order to combat any future intergalactic asthma attacks?
That's a very good question, and it's a very controversial topic, I gotta say, and it's important to note that yes, the military is very, very, very crucial in the preventative measures for these intergalactic asthma attacks, and so that's why that they're even relevant to the topic, because they are very crucial and very important, and it's something to consider and definitely a very controversial topic indeed. Thank you very much for asking this question. This is a fantastic question. I really appreciate the asking of this question. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
We appreciate your input.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. These are very, very, very controversial topics, and they're very important to talk about, and the public deserves to hear the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I think
yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say that I think your answer to the question was just very insightful. It kind of opened my eyes and shed new light onto the topic for me, and probably our viewers as well. It's like a lot of us don't think the same way as you because you've been researching this and studying it for so long. So hearing your input
Eons
really,
and eons, precisely.
yeah, for eons and neons. So just hearing what you have to say, hearing your input about this situation really just shines new light on it.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you again for having me on the podcast. I'm very excited to be here. I'm having an absolute blast. And I mean, I think it's great. We're talking about very, 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 very important topics for the public to really hear about and really get a grasp on.
I understand it's sensitive and something very important now to get to really get into it, talk about a book. Now, this is a cover of a book that I barely saw in the grandfather's attic. It was in a box, and it had dust on it, but on the side of it, it said asthma attack, and I couldn't see if it was intergalactic, but I saw it was like space themed, had planets, and on the top in big letters, big red alert, like crossed out red. It said nebulizer. Now, can you explain why?
I'm sorry. What was the word that it said on the top of the book?
It said nebulizer.
Oh, of course, nebulizer. Of course. Wow. So what was the question that you asked?
Now, I've only heard of myths about these, going along with the origins of the inhaler in the intergalactics. Now, have you ever came across them in your studies or in your travel?
I've never came across a nebulizer in my studies or travel.
Yeah.
That's a very good question. And yeah, I have to say, yes, nebulizers are a very prevalent topic in intergalactic asthma attacks and that whole subject matter. And they're very heavily related to the inhaler, as you were saying, specifically the intergalactic inhaler. And it's also just very important to consider. And yeah, I really appreciate you asking that question, JizzyJ. Thank you very much for that question.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. It is my honor.
So Dr. Professor, if I may call you that.
Yes, of course you could call me Dr. Professor. In fact, that's actually my preferred. I'd prefer if you call me Dr. Professor. Some people call me Dr. I don't really appreciate that very much. I think that when you are talking to somebody, you should not call them by their first two initials. You should call them by their title is what you should call them by.
Right. You shouldn't even mention
that brings me back to my childhood, and that's not very, I don't really like that either. So I prefer to be called Dr. Professor. Thank you very much.
Oh, yes, Mr. Of Gweeb. Course. And also, just one more thing. Would you prefer if I called you Mr. Dr. Professor, or is that your father?
I do tend to think about my father when people call me Mr. Dr. Professor. I have to admit, I wouldn't be offended. I would respond, but I would say I probably keep it casual. Just Dr. Professor is probably fine. Just keep it casual.
All right, yeah, that's probably as casual as we could get. So yeah, so we'll just stick with Dr. Professor. Anyways, one of the questions that was burning a hole in my pocket. What are your thoughts? A lot of the time we think of kind of protecting ourselves and kind of guarding the Earth from intergalactic asthma attacks to make sure that people aren't affected too heavily. But what are your thoughts of us intergalactic asthma attacking other civilizations, our enemies?
Well, I cannot say that I am a supporter, but I cannot say that I am against these actions. I think that these actions are very, very important to consider. I think that they're very controversial. I mean, very controversial topics. Yes, indeed. Indubitably, as some might say. Indubitably. You guys ever heard that word before? Indubitably.
I don't think I've ever heard it before. Is that?
Could you say it for me?
Indubitably.
I'm blue.
Indubitably. Indubitably.
In the shoe bully.
Now, Professor, have you ever had
that was really good.
intergalactic asthma attack? So
that was very disrespectful, JizzyJ. I think we're supposed to call him Dr. Professor around here.
Absolutely. I would prefer to be called Dr. Professor. Absolutely.
Dr. Professor, absolutely. I apologize. Count of.
What was your question, though? seems JizzyJ may have been affected by a
Intergalactic asthma attack. They come like that. They're sneaky.
So, have you had an intergalactic asthma attack in the past?
That's a bit too personal of a question.
Have I had an intergalactic asthma attack in the past?
I know you have. I know you don't like to talk about it, but Professor, I would really like for you to share your experiences as one who have tried and tested.
Yeah, we just want to, make it very clear that this is a safe space and that we like to provide our viewers with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And, we don't want to push you to be too uncomfortable, but we would like to urge you to, get the whole truth out there because even though it may make you somewhat uncomfortable, I think it's important for our viewers to understand the entire situation so that, the information is uploaded straight to their brain and they know the truth about it and not just the propaganda that's spread by the media.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you the beginning of the story, but I can't. Once I get to the middle and the end, I won't be able to go any further.
That's completely fine, and we just really appreciate that you going out of your comfort zone to tell us.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you guys getting the truth to people and about these important topics. I think it's very impressive. I'm having a blast here. I love this podcast. I'm a big fan of this podcast. I listened with my great daughter, my great granddaughter, my great great daughter, and we have a great grand time listening to this podcast together. So thank you very much.
That's amazing.
Whole different generation.
Absolutely. As for the story, I must say, it began on a Saturday morning. I was simply just walking down the street, and out of nowhere, I fell to the ground. Something forced me to the ground. I smelled approximately 3 orders of hash browns from McDonald's. There was no McDonald's nearby, but there was about 3 orders of hash browns worth of hash browns scent entering my nostrils approximately at that time when I was pushed to the ground.
That sounds painful.
And, it was very painful. But understandably, I got up and I followed the scent. What else would you do in the situation? Right.
Yeah, in the morning too, huh?
It was in the morning. It was Saturday morning. Yeah, exactly. What other time would you?
At the hunger. You get the...
Exactly. And it's McDonald's hash browns, sure, but it's Saturday morning. McDonald's. Come on. So I was following the scent with my nostrils. Similar to a dog, you do a zigzag pattern with so the scent. There's like a scent trail that's left.
The trail is like a snake.
Exactly, and then you do a zigzag pattern, so you're like going in that direction, and you go a little bit to the left, and the smell gets weaker, and so you're like, oh, that's not where it is. So then you go back to the right, and then the smell gets stronger again. And you're like, oh, this is right I'm on the right track, and then you keep going to the right, and then it starts getting weaker, and you're like, oh, it's not here. And so then you go back towards the left. That's how you follow a scent trail.
Wow. You learned so much on this podcast.
Yeah. I agree.
Well,
anyways, I was following the scent trail. Next thing I knew, I stepped over some boundary of some sort, and I was in an intergalactic ship from another galaxy, and the things they did to me.
What was it like in there?
Unfortunately, I promised them I wouldn't disclose that information.
Okay.
Were the beings in the intergalactic ship, were they hostile?
Okay. Well, it kind of depends on your perspective. I gotta say.
I just want to let you know. I'm sorry. I just want to let you know. In this podcast, it is a human-only podcast, and we don't discriminate. We don't let this be shown to any other race besides human. So, go ahead. Truth.
Right. Oh, right. That's good to know. That is good to know. Thank you for telling me that.
If you're ready.
I appreciate that information. You know, and that's why I appreciate this podcast. I appreciate how open it is, and I just appreciate all the truth that is spilling out. And it's just wow. You guys should be very proud of yourselves.
Thank
So,
you.
you're in the ship.
Right. Well, I'm not currently in the ship. If we need to be specific and really, you know, realistic here, I'm not currently in the ship. I'm currently in a room.
Uh-huh.
Wait, a room in the ship?
No. This room that I'm currently in is not. I am not in the ship.
Oh, okay.
I'm not in the ship right now. I'm not in the ship.
It sounds like you're kind of sending a message. Are you in trouble? Maybe blink 10 times if you're safe. Was that 9? How many blinks did he do, Jizzy? I couldn't tell.
I can't tell off, like, when we're talking like this way. How many times did you blink?
I can't disclose that information, unfortunately.
I just want to let you reiterate. This is a
let me just make it very clear. I'm not in the ship.
Something tells me that he might be in the ship right now.
Now, can you bang on the desk 3 times if you are not in the ship?
Can you look me in the eyes and tell me that you're not in the ship?
I can't disclose that information right now. But I can say I'm not in the ship.
I guess he's not.
If you get what I'm saying.
He might be in the ship. Just the words he's saying make me think he might be in the ship.
But he said it multiple times, so maybe he was like emphasizing that he's not really.
Right, he just keeps saying I'm in the ship.
But he also emphasizes the not mostly, and that could be
the way I interpret it is that he's going several knots per hour in the ship. Like the ship is traveling right now, and he's in it.
I'm doing the charades thing where you put your finger on your nose.
Gweeb. Jarrett or JizzyJ, we're figuring it out right now.
That sounds plausible.
He's being held hostage.
Putting my finger is currently on my nose.
He has his finger in his nose.
It's in my nose currently right now. It's the charades thing. You guys ever played charades?
I think maybe 3 times as a child. Once I have.
What's the best character you ever played on charades? The Gweeb, Mr. The Gweeb.
Probably Ryan Reynolds.
Impressive. Mr. JizzyJ, have you ever played charades?
Yeah, Tom Cruise.
What's the best character you've ever played in charades? Can you give me a rundown on this character?
Probably Burn Ernie.
Man, charades. Isn't that just the game? Yep. Isn't that just the game to end all games?
I think charades is the game, yeah.
It's definitely the game. It is the game.
Now feeling from your tense voice here, I'm just gonna start a game of charades with us right now.
Okay.
Wherever you are, if you're in danger, you stuff, I know you're talking in some kind of code, so we're just gonna play a nice game of charades.
I've got to be honest. I have no idea what you said. The transmission doesn't come in too good up here, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
the transmission's not coming in very clearly, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, I think we need to go on a mission to save Dr. Professor. I think he's being held hostage by hostile creatures in intergalactic waters.
I can neither confirm nor deny these accusations that have been put up against me.
Can you transmit?
But I would like to speak to my lawyer.
Can you transmit your coordinates via Morse code? Oh yeah.
Are you okay?
I
Do you think they know Morse code? That's something we did not think about.
You're right.
I don't know most Morse code either, if I'm going to be completely honest. I thought maybe you guys would be able to kind of figure out where I was going.
No, I got it.
With it.
Well, you didn't really. You said the tacos.
I guess that
You said the tacos
Yeah, I got
in
the
the toilet.
coordinates.
makes
And then,
it more complicated.
Well, yeah.
The tacos.
What you said with the Morse code was the tacos in the toilet, but using echolocation, I was actually able to track down your exact location.
Yeah, and that's something that they don't really know about. They discovered Morse code. I know that from the books, but once you apply echolocation, that's the true decoding.
So I think, JizzyJ, I think you know how the phrase goes. You fight intergalactic asthma attacks with intergalactic asthma attacks. So what it sounds like is we're gonna have to intergalactically asthma attack these creatures that have Dr. Professor hostage.
Yeah, and one of those creatures that grew up through the ages, through these wars. Did
you just call me a cretin?
Oh no, not cretin. Creatures. The intergalactic beluga whale.
He said you eat a lot of creatine.
Yeah, if you were one of the whales that formed through echolocation, you would have had creatine to survive. That built your dorsal fins on top of your head.
I must be honest, the transmission is not coming through right now.
What's your stance on intergalactic asthma protection?
Folks, it appears that we are in some deep shit.
Yep, we are currently in a deep dish pizza as we speak. Stuffed crust, perhaps.
Not too greasy. A little bit.
Cut into 8 perfect slices. Probably
toasted to perfection.
Maybe a large, even an extra large, depending on what pizza place you order it from.
Folks, we've just witnessed the first death. JizzyJ, Gweeb, pod.
The first death in history we have just witnessed. And
were you turning in the morning?
I have to say it's pretty tragic. But to say goodbye, we have a professional funeral director who will be joining us to sing a goodbye song. Mr. Funeral Director, would you like to sing us off?
In the arms of the angel, I will fly.
Fly
The sky, baby.
Ooh.
Oh, motherfucker. He was a good old boy.
Good old boy.
He could fly into the sky with me.
And before you go,